Many of you will have noticed that we are posting mistyping conversations that we reference the mistyping chart in our book. This is the most thorough mistyping chart that's available in print, and it's only in the physical copy of our book Around the Circle, which is up on Amazon. If you are more interested in the audio and long form podcasts that we do, our audiobook and a host of new interviews are up at aroundthecircle.org. This weekend, we posted a conversation with Beth and Jeff McCord, and as we do these mistyping conversations, we are posting even more of them for our members. So go to aroundthecircle.org. Free members can see all that we have to offer, as well as a bunch of free stuff. Paid members will get access to all of our best material, our audiobook, and about 40 hours of new content, as well as access to our online workshops, which are going to be starting up this fall. So thank you for listening. May all good things be yours. Hey friends, it's Jeff. We're doing another mistyping session, this time with Danielle. Danielle, where are you from?
I'm in Ottawa, Ontario, Canada.
Oh, wonderful. You connected with me about doing a typing session. Tell me a couple things about yourself.
I have two little kids, 6 and 4, and I'm at the tail end of school to begin a second career as a counselor. So
Perfect.
yeah.
What sort of counseling do you enjoy?
Still getting my feet wet. I really like working with, so we're an ADHD family, so I like working with folks who are neurodivergent, chronic pain, that kind of thing. Still feeling it out. Yeah, right now I see folks of all walks of life, and so that's been great. Learning some surprises about actually what I like working with. So yeah.
Sure. Tell me about your experience in counseling so far.
It's been a really interesting journey going back to school. So I'm turning 40 this year. So I was like 37 when I went back to school. Something I always wanted to do, but it's kind of interesting because at different points in my life, I've kind of been the person who's like, I hate people. Like, why would I want to talk to people all day? That sounds horrible.
Right.
And at the same time, I've been working sort of like desk jobs since I was 17. Like when I was in university, I would have summer jobs, kind of like desk jobs. And I remember back then being like, I want to launch this computer through a window. I can't believe people spend all day in Excel. Like, hated it, right? And where I am, so Ottawa is basically like the Washington, D.C. of Canada. So everyone here is government. So that's sort of the path I followed too. Very much like the golden handcuffs, they call them, because you get all the, not down there. Down there, it's a bit crazy now. But up here, it's still very secure, very, you get the pension and the healthcare benefits and all of that. Sure. Having this sort of, I guess, midlife crisis and going back to school was a really big leap of faith, really like counter to the norm here and counter to what my family would like me to do. So it's been a real sort of like journey of the soul, I think. And I've loved like everything I read and consume even before I started school is around psychology, self-help. Like obviously I'm into the enneagram, so like very into self-discovery and understanding myself and other people. And yeah, counseling's been a great kind of like, I think it's a really good fit for me as far as my skills and relational sort of aptitudes and that kind of thing. Yeah, it's been really interesting. Actually, one thing that's been really wild about it is, we all grow up with these, not all of us, but I think a lot of us grow up with these ideas about our own childhoods. And then it's so perspective giving to chat with people and hear about the experiences other people have been through. It really does help you put your own things in perspective. It gives you different ways to look at things, but also you realize like people have been through some stuff, Yeah.
Boom. Perfect. Talk about your experience with it being counter to what your family wanted.
So this is like a mega stressful thing sort of for me. It's been, 40 years basically in the making. So I'm from a small town on the east coast of Canada, and out there job security is not amazing. So when I moved here and then when I managed to get a job that was very secure, it was like winning the lottery as far as, my parents were concerned. And very much like a toe the line kind of thing. Like, oh, just it's all for the pension. Like, just, keep chugging away. And I've been someone who's had this feeling of like misalignment, who like feels that misalignment somatically, mentally, emotionally, even before I think I could realize what I was feeling. So in my 20s, I had my quarter life crisis, and I left my job for a year and took a leave of absence and became like a personal trainer. And I, that was, I mean, that I learned a lot doing that. Actually, it's funny looking back because my favorite thing about it was very much that I was like, similar to going to the hairdresser, right? When people go to personal training, it's almost like they're with a counselor. They're doing like the leg press and they're like, and then my boyfriend said, and you're like, oh yeah,
Sure.
like,
Yeah,
right.
right.
So, it's kind of cool in that way and gave me like, I did really well with it. And it kind of gave me that little boost to be like, okay, like people would want to see me if I was in a role where I was the sort of like, I'm not typing at a desk. I'm like actually interacting and offering kind of insights. People find that valuable. So that was a kind of bolstered my self-esteem in that area. But then, financially, I ended up going back to the government job. And well, to add context, so when I took my leave there for a year, my mom like didn't talk to me for 6 months. Like it was in her mind like something that brought like shame almost, I think, to like the whole family. And I think she values comfort so much that she like couldn't even secondhand like experience that sort of like risk taking that I was doing.
Sure.
And I'm not, despite ADHD, I'm not a risky person. Like I'm not a adrenaline junkie. I don't like thrive on, I don't like rides. I don't do crazy spontaneous things. But that was my first sort of foray into, bucking the sort of norm around the secure job. And then
Right.
when I went back into the government, and then I had 2 kids, which is the government gives very good maternity benefits, so that was amazing. But I still felt like something was just like missing, And I think it got to a point where, it's interesting when I got to around 35, I started weirdly losing like people would die that I knew. Like I knew people who got cancer, I knew people who died of these who were like my age, and it really sort of gives you this sort of like holy crap,
Yeah.
in your 20s I think you really do feel like you have your whole life, and then 35 or whatever and people my age are starting to like die, and I'm like, okay, so we do get one chance, right, at this, maybe more, we don't know, but assuming there's one, what do you want to do with it? So I took a big leap of faith. So so I didn't tell my mom, I didn't tell my parents that I had gone back to school. I've been working full time the whole time while I was doing it. I did end up telling them, but I sort of was like, I'm taking a course. And then they were like, okay. And so you're going to do this like on top of your job? And I was like, well, like my goal one day would be to, that's not, I would say it's not something they've like accepted. They've very much, my mom will be like, so are there jobs like in the government in counseling that
Right.
you could do? Like very like, oh, that's cool. You want to be a counselor if you can be like a counselor in the government. And it does stress me out, I'll say, the prospect of leaving. I've been in the government now 17 years. So leaving that behind is stressful, not from any sort of like pride or like dedication to the public service, but more so the worry, right, about the future and what that means for me in terms of pension. And, you know, I I am someone who values security, I will say, and safety, and I value that my job gives me that. But I'm also someone who really values freedom. So one of my things has always been, as I think about myself and as I've like gotten more into the enneagram, this is something like I give a lot of thought to, because as I mentioned, like contemplated several types for myself, never been typed, but the safety and security is of value to me. But when I think about what the safety and security, what I want it for, it's freedom, right? It's that wanting to be able to do what I want to do when I want to do it, that kind of thing. So, yeah.
Perfect. That's excellent. That's a lot. That's a lot there. Do you find that you're more of a free-spirited person? Would you describe yourself as that?
I think I would. I think I would, but I don't know if I am or if I just want to be.
Sure.
Like in my mind, I'm like, I've always been like, had a thing for like the very bohemian people who just don't care what's culturally expected of them and stuff. But it's not something I've necessarily lived out for myself, I'll say. Yeah.
Yeah. Well said. Are you aware of what's in your bank account right now?
Not really.
Okay. Oh.
Ish.
Is it ish?
Yeah.
It's in terms of talking about the value of freedom. Is freedom associated in your mind with people not bossing you or telling you what to do, or is it something else?
Yeah. It's people not telling me what to do. It's being able to, I'm someone who cannot, and I think I mentioned when when I like volunteered for this that like ADHD is one of the things that's made it tough for me, I think, to find my type, because one of the things that I hate is committing to anything like in advance. So I'm the person, if someone's, oh, we're going to do dinner 3 Saturdays from now at 7. And I'm like, I think I have something then. I'll have to let you know, because I just hate the idea of getting locked into something 3 weeks from now. So I'm that person who like gets invited to a wedding and I'm like, ugh. And it's not because like I wish, listen, get married. I wish you well, but like, I don't know if I want to be there in 3 months, like,
Right.
Yeah.
Do you have any fear of missing out on that front?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
oh, you do.
Oh, I have FOMO.
So-
Yeah.
So you want the invitation, but you don't necessarily want to say that you're going to show
You
up.
know what? It's not even the fear of missing out on the event. I just want to be invited.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect. When working with folks as a counselor, what are the things that are most satisfying to you?
I love the psychoeducation piece, actually. I really enjoy, like, I read so much and listen to podcasts all day. I love being able to share that information with people who are like active listeners on the other end and like enrich their lives with it, as opposed to just word vomiting on people I know, being like, I listen to this podcast. And I love that. I love making people think. Like, I love that I can kind of just observe and comment on something I'm noticing, and it might be something they've never noticed. And I can see them kind of pause and think like, oh, I hadn't thought about it that way before. So it's, yeah.
Perfect. Do you find that you think about the past a lot?
Not really. No.
Talk about that.
I'm not someone who like dwells on past stuff. I'm extremely future focused. So to my detriment, the present is like not a thing for me, and neither is, I'd say the past is more a thing to me than the present, but the future is where I'm at like all the time. It's interesting. It's come up in my relationship where I'm like thinking about something and I'm like, but what about like when we're 55? And my husband's like, but that's a long time away. And I'm like, but I want to know that when we're 55, we can do that. And he's like, okay. So I'm much more in the future. Thinking about the past, I am someone who has a lot of like melancholy, nostalgia. Like, I will romanticize things from the past and think about them in that way. Like, I have regrets for sure. Like, I wish 20 whatever year old me had done my master's right after I did my bachelor's, and I wish I'd had this quarter life crisis as a midlife crisis as a quarter life crisis, right? But it doesn't drag me down to think about it.
Sure. Does melancholy make you feel uncomfortable, or is that
Yeah, I don't like it.
Oh.
No.
Do you find that you talked quite a bit up front kind of about the death of folks your own age?
Yeah.
I assume that you've had then some experience with grief. Would you talk about that?
Yeah, my experience with grief has been really interesting. Often when I'm grieving, so the first real experience with loss I had was my grandfather. And it's funny because I was very sad that he passed. And it is interesting because when I do notice, like, when someone older passes away, I feel a lot of sadness for, it's hard to explain. I feel sadness for their past self. It's kind of weird. I'm almost like looking at my grandfather's
Sure.
pictures from when he was younger.
Mm-hmm.
I remember feeling profound sadness at, oh, look, there he is. He looks so happy in this picture. He has no idea that this is going to happen to him in the future, right? So that's like one weird kind of meta way that I tend to look at it. But when my grandfather died, the one thing that I remember really touched me about that experience was that my grandfather was very judgmental, harsh with words, but his funeral, I mean, like the church was filled, it was overflowing. There was no room for any standing room only at the back, you know? And the visitation like lasted like 2 full days and people just kept coming and talking about my grandfather. And I kind of was like, my profound takeaway from that was the value of authenticity and being yourself and how, yeah, like how important that is in life. Because my grandfather he was himself. He
Mm-hmm.
was who he was. And people just loved him like as he was, you know? And it was the same thing. Like I lost a friend to suicide last year and he was like just such a bright light in the world. And when he passed away and I watched his funeral because it was not here. And it was almost the same thing. Like I remember thinking like, wow, like look at all these people here to celebrate Aaron and how amazing his life was and how authentically he lived and how much joy he brought. So as much as I'm sad, I'm almost, I don't know, it's almost like I'm seeing these losses from the perspective of like how the lessons I can take away from sort of the experience of grieving, if
Mm-hmm.
that's not like super abstract. I think it is, but
No, that works.
yeah.
That works well. You got a 4 and a 6-year-old. That's kind of one of those ages where they're just about to both be in school. Is this correct?
Yeah, so
Yep.
in Ontario where I am, actually kids start school the year they turn 4. So both my
Okay.
kids started school at 3.
Oh,
We have a junior kindergarten and then senior kindergarten.
yeah.
Yeah, so they're going into senior kindergarten in grade 2.
Bing.
Yeah.
What's been the hardest part of kind of the early parenting process for you?
I would say for me, it's been feeling like comparing myself to other moms and other parents.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I wasn't sure that I wanted kids. And so I would say I'm someone who really like, I need a lot of self-care activities to kind of regulate. So I exercise, I go for walks, and I'm not one of those people who will give that up for the
Mm-hmm.
sake of, you know, I'll give an example because it's a very Canadian example, but like many of my friends have their like 4-year-olds in hockey, right?
Sure.
And hockey, they'll be like, "Oh, I was at the rink at, 7:30 this morning." And I'm like, I just wouldn't. Like I'd be
Mm-hmm.
like, that's not going to work. Like that's a time that I'm, I don't know, usually exercising or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had to struggle with that a little bit, like that feeling of like, am like two angles. Am I prioritizing self-care or am I a selfish, horrible mother?
Sure.
And so it's been sort of grappling with that and watching how other people parent and kind of, and there's always that aspect. Like my son is neurodivergent too, and my daughter was born deaf, so she has
Mm-hmm.
cochlear implants, but it's been like a journey for us in that respect too. So it's been a lot of sort of comparing to other families and noticing who has it easier and
Mm-hmm.
trying not to beat ourselves up over that and that kind of thing. But, and I would say actually unique to the school experience is that, especially grade 1 for my son, is where they start getting like real report cards, right? It's not like in kindergarten, it's like they
Sure.
play with they're empathetic friends and they sit in
Right.
a circle. And then grade 1 is when they're like, they're bad at math. They need, and that has actually hit me a little bit more than I was expecting it to. I thought I might be the person who was like, whatever, report cards don't matter. And I struggle with that a little bit. Like, I think I want to be the parent who's like, no, like the system is broken. Let's just, but really I'm a little bit like, oh my God, is he going to be okay? Like, he needs tutoring. Yeah. So again, that free spirit thing, right? Like, I think it's
Yeah.
that tension between like wanting to be like the free spirit mom and like my inner type A control freak being like, but you're not. So, yeah.
Is it the social pressure or the feeling of judgment that maybe gets you on the report card side of thing? Could you put a name to?
I would say that's a good question. I think it is maybe social pressure. I think it's like I was a really bright kid growing up, like, gifted program and all of that. And so was my brother. And a lot of value was always placed on academics for us. And I think it's that I just, it's kind of wild. I think part of it is actually that I just want easy. Like I know how hard it can be to have a child who struggles with, like I had a cousin growing up who had a learning disability and I saw his experience compared to mine and my brother's. And I think there's like a level of self-protection in it where it's like, I don't want to be the mom who's got to do 3 hours of extra homework every night with my kid because they're struggling. I just want it to be easy, like, yeah.
That's perfect. Do you find that you talk about things that might go wrong very often?
I'm not like a worst case scenario person, generally speaking. I don't think I tend to catastrophize things. I do, like, for example, with my potential counseling career, there's definitely something that holds me back from being like, no, I'm gonna like jump in with both feet as soon as I'm, licensed. I'm gonna start my thing and it's gonna be great and I'm gonna bet on myself. And what holds me back is obviously, maybe it's not obvious, but is that sort of worst case scenario thing, right? Like, oh my God, like what if I leave the government and then like I don't do well in private practice and then I have no money and I can't afford health benefits for my family. And then, so I do tend to do that, but I'm not the person that like, I don't like, for example, I know people who put air tags in their kids' backpacks. We would never, like, I'm not that person who's like, I grew up a very free childhood, child of the 80s and 90s, go run around the block, like that kind of thing. Come home when the streetlights come on kind of thing. So, and I have no issue with my kids, like, living that way. So I have that sort of worst case scenario thinking in specific circumstances, usually around money and like life comfort, but not otherwise, not like health wise or my kid's safety or anything like that.
Bang. Do you find that sometimes you need time just by yourself to leave and go? And is that for you, does that feel like a physical experience or a mental experience?
Oh, good question. Can you say more? Like, what do you mean by?
Yeah. Do you need to get out of town because it gets you kind of away from all the things that you're responsible for? Or does leaving have some other kind of motive behind it?
Oh, interesting. I have never been away alone, but hypothetically, like since I had kids, I love being in situations where I'm like, if I was in a situation where I could not use my phone, for example, for whatever reason, I would love that. Like, I would be like, thank you for giving me this forced discomfort. I love this experience, right? So I'm all in for that kind of stuff. It's very much like I spend a lot of time alone, like by choice. Like, I walk a lot and that's how I like it, like by myself. And I would say it's physical because I enjoy being out moving my body, but it's mental because it's where I do a lot of my processing I walk through there's a path through the woods by my house. So walking there, like listening to a podcast, but I mean, honestly, half the time I'm not even listening. I'm listening to the podcast, but actually like off in another world, daydreaming or working out something that I'm trying to figure out. But I spend a lot of time alone like that. Yeah.
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 Do you feel like, in terms of envisioning future,
Mm-hmm.
do you get pretty single-minded with what's going to happen in the future, or do you have more of a desire for lots of possibilities?
No, I like lots of possibilities. Yeah.
Could you name why?
I don't want to have to pick. I want everything to be an option. I think that's partly why, like around the security thing, and it's how I've always thought about wealth. Like when people are like, money's not important, I just need enough to have a house. I'm like, no, but like, why wouldn't you want all the money so that you would have all of the choice, even if you don't spend it, just to have it, so you have the choices, right? So yeah.
It's a good answer. Has anyone else told you that you're a good storyteller?
No,
It doesn't come up.
but you said anyone else, so I don't know. Am I a good storyteller? No, but I am like animated and I value humor a lot, so I do tend to like go off on stories like that, and people seem to be engaged. So
Perfect. I suppose I'm phrasing that in a strange way, that like as a compliment. But do you find that when you tell stories about your past that you want to bring out the most humorous elements to them? Would that be a high value?
Oh
for
yeah,
you?
yeah.
Right. What do vacations look like for you?
I have two modes. So one is like we take a trip to Florida, well, every year, but I don't know. I don't know going forward. My in-laws spend the winter down there, so we go down and visit them for a couple weeks every winter. And we have some friends that happen to go down at the same time, and we spend 2 weeks with them, and we do like nothing. Like we go to the pool and we like lay around and we chat, and I read a book. It's like great. I'm happy to just like read my book, bop around. Wonderful. The other mode I have is like tourist mode, and I love that too. So like I love ancient history, so I will go, like I've been to Italy twice and Greece twice, and I would go back again tomorrow and find a million new things in Rome to discover. And I want to do all of the, like, I like the museums and the churches and like all of that stuff. So when we went to Europe last, it was in the winter, and I remember being like, oh, I'm really glad we're going in the winter because I won't. So speaking of FOMO, I won't be tempted, like I won't be upset or tempted by the fact that there's nice beaches because it's not beach time. I'll have to, like, all there will be to do is these like museums and stuff, right? Like I wanted to do them, but I didn't want to have the FOMO that I was missing out on experiencing the beaches or something, but yeah.
Excellent. Do you find that you are one of the first people to leave parties?
Yeah.
Wait, talk about why.
I'm an outgoing person, but my social battery depletes really fast. And I think that part of it is probably because maybe it's my ADHD, but I think I do feel a need to be like on when I'm at parties, and then it's just tiring. Like you reach a point where you're like, and I'm off. And then I'm ready to be gone. And like, as an example, my husband's family is Italian, so they're very loud and boisterous, and family gatherings are large, right? And I'm known to like disappear. Just someone will find me on the front step, just like chilling, because I just find it overstimulating. Like I need quiet. I like the stories and the laughing and the fun and the family, but I have my saturation point is very low for that. Yeah. Yeah.
Perfect. That's well said. Are you really aware of your personal energy?
Yeah.
Can you talk about that?
I have always been in awe of people who like do things at night. I'm like I'm not a night. I'm like, no, I've been doing things all day. Like I don't have energy at night to do things. So like, especially when I was working in an office, Monday to Friday downtown, and had like a commute to get where I live, if we would be invited to like my husband's family's house for like birthday cake at 7:30 p.m., I would be like, what kind of monsters organize cake at 7:30 p.m. after a work day? To me, I did the thing. Like I went to work. That was the thing. I can't do the other thing. And having kids actually has been a challenge for that, because things happen at night, right? So like you somehow have to find this energy to be even in the dead of winter where we are, when it's well below, zero, and kids have activities. And it's something that's actually come up because I'm, like my husband and I have had this conversation where he's like, but Danielle, like, this is what parents do. Like, we just have to do it. We have to put them in the thing and go to the thing. And I don't want to go to the thing. I want to stay home. So yeah.
Perfect. Do you experience, could you name an experience of anxiety? Is that something that comes up?
Yeah.
Talk about that.
I am an anxious person, but I'm often someone who doesn't know why I'm anxious. So I tend to have the experience where I feel anxious and people are like, why? And I'm like, I don't know. I just feel that I am. And for the longest time, I've had conversations with like mental health providers, and they've been like, it sounds like generalized anxiety. And I'm like, no, but I'm not anxious about the thing. Like I said, I don't do the worst case thinking. It's not like I'm like thinking about something, ruminating on something, and that's what's making me anxious. I just have this bodily sensation of being uneasy and anxious. Yeah. And I mean, it's been a big part of my life, actually. Like it's something I've struggled with for ages and have been on and off medication for, and that kind of thing. Especially as a person with ADHD, because they tend to run together a lot. So trying to figure out which is which and what's what. But yeah, I would say I'm anxious, but if you were to ask me why, I couldn't tell you most of the time.
Sure. That's a good answer. In terms of counseling, is it more important for you to pull people into more happy feelings, or more important to you to kind of get them moving along the right track? Or is there some other target that you kind of have in mind?
No, I'd say it's getting them moving on the right track. Yeah. One thing I've gathered so far in this experience is like, people will come and say, I need help because I'm angry all the time with my life, or I lash out, I get mad. And are there tools I could give them to make them less mad? Yeah. But sometimes when we're talking, I realize they're mad for like a really good reason. Like they should be mad, Right. And then the work becomes a little bit more of that sort of helping them unpack that without putting it on them. I'm not going to be like, has it occurred to you that you should leave your husband? But, helping them sort of peel back the layers and come to understand that like their anger may actually be valid and justified, and maybe there's something they need to do about it that's not just breathing. Yeah.
Do you yourself have strong impulses to flee from difficult situations?
Yeah.
Yes. And does that come out mostly in stress, or is that kind of just a normal gear?
I think that's in stress.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
Do you find, like in your counseling, do you get really jazzed about the details of the people? You kind of talked about this a little bit, but do you get jazzed about understanding and knowing people better?
I do. And I think, yes, actually, as you say that, I'm thinking, yes. The word that comes to mind is puzzles. Like I think to me, people are puzzles, and I like problem solving.
Are you ever aware of people judging your intelligence?
Sometimes. So my government job was in a really intellectual area. It was in behavioral sciences, and is, I guess, because I'm actually still working there right now. I work with all PhDs and all PhDs and some MDs as well. So I think it depends on the situation. Like if I'm in a conversation with them, I notice I don't contribute anything because I'm like, I know nothing. Right. I don't know. Yes and no, I would say to that one.
Perfect. That's good. Did you ever win any awards when you were working in government?
I did. I really randomly won one for the bubbliest personality, which is funny because I don't think anybody would describe me as bubbly, but they did. Which just
Okay.
I mean, I think that says more about the work environment than me, to be honest with you, but hey. And I've won awards for like my humor, like my sense of humor, like that. It's always like the personality win, right? Like,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
not like hardest worker or something like that. But
Sure.
yeah.
Were you weren't necessarily targeting these awards,
No.
but they were giving them to you, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Bang. So to turn specifically to Enneagram, I always am shocked at how fast these go. Like, I'm like, we've been talking about 15 minutes. No, we've been talking 40 minutes.
Yep.
So I apologize if it
That's
takes a
okay.
while for me to get my mind around some of this. You would come, and I want to say you had found an attraction to 1, 7, and 3 as a potential number.
I
Is that
didn't
right?
mention I didn't mention the numbers I thought I
Oh,
was.
tell me what you think your numbers might be. That's very helpful then.
I have in the very beginning,
Mm-hmm.
I for years thought I was a 6.
Mm-hmm.
Um, then I thought I was, for a brief time, I thought I was a 4. For a while, I thought I was a 5, and I see a lot of 5 in me. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
see a lot of like the desire to gobble up as much information and the need to like know as much about something as I possibly can, and feel that level of like mastery over it. And only in the last little bit, I've come to 7.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Specifically like in the once I learned about more about the instincts and this self-preservation and that kind of thing is when I was kind of like, oh, okay, so maybe, because I know 7s and they're
Mm-hmm.
7s, like they are like the ones who post inspirational quotes on Instagram and are like just like fry yay and like all the things, right? And I'm not that person. So I was always like, oh, I'm not that, like, right? But as I've expanded my sort of like the enneagram content I've been taking in, I'm like starting to think that that might be it. So yeah.
Perfect. Well, like part of me is going, thank God she went that direction. I also thought that 5 and 7 made the most sense. So just the fact that you kind of landed in those spaces, and the fact that 6 and 4 kind of have some connection there, especially around the 5, that gives me some. I think that's good to hear that we're kind of on the same page there. The stuff that I heard is, so if you're a 5 or a 7, the amount of time and attention you give to self-care shows you to be a very self-aware person that's going against what can commonly be true of those types. And so that would take a lot of energy, but I also felt like you gave a lot of energy into that space. The worst case scenario, thinking in terms of money specifically, would tie to those real cleanly. Saying, and I felt like this was said boldly, that you want things easy would tie to 5, 7, and 9 real cleanly. The idea of being aware of your energy is a big deal for 5s, and both 5s and 7s will leave parties first. Because 5 and 7 are on lines, that may be a part of our conversation. So when I say that, you know what I'm talking about, yeah?
Yeah.
So it should be the case, if you were either of these types, that you would have some of the qualities of the other type, either in stress or security. When going on vacation, the fact that, like, both the reading of the book and tourist mode, I could see being both of these. I see a lot of 7s who, when they're secure, get really into ancient history. This is one of those things that just I see all over the place. But that doesn't mean that 5s aren't also really into ancient history. But the fact that you got into government work in the first place is interesting to me. I suppose I didn't really ask you why you got into government work, aside from, was it just, this is a safe, secure job?
It's literally what people do here. Like, I
Yeah.
finished university and was like, what do you do with an undergrad in psych, right? Like,
Yeah.
really, what do you do? And in here, that you join the government. If you don't know what you want to do with your life, you join the government. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bang. So that's a lot of what I saw, and especially with your future focus That would also make sense. And then I think just I resonated in that space with your self-descriptions of anxiety. Generalized anxiety, I think, is a great way to say this. 5s and 7s both have a hard time, I think, verbalizing their fear where 6s don't. And so, yeah, and that was really what I type everyone as a 1 at first. And so that was kind of there a little bit, but I would much prefer if neither of these really connect with you, we could probably go there. But all that would make sense. So any questions before I jump into our mistyping chart?
I don't think so. I think that's, my mind had gone also to the fact that I'm like, well, it would make sense that like my desire to consume information is often when I'm stressed, not bad stress. Even like I have a client who has an issue that I don't know how to solve, and I'm not like, worried, but it is a stress because I'm like, I need to serve this client and I don't know this issue very well. So I go and buy all the books on it, right? Yeah. I feel like that's a really good gauge for like my level of stress is like how many books are being delivered to my house. Cause like, yeah, it's true. Yeah.
That's an excellent way. So in stress, just to put it out there, in stress, do you feel like you want to be more informed, or in stress you feel like you need to create more order?
Oh no, I need to be informed. I need to know. Yeah.
It's like, well, that'll be an important distinction.
Yeah.
There. Okay, so for any readers or listeners or watchers, this is our mistyping chart for the 5s and 7s. And my experience of this has been, the more that I use it, the more that I'm aware that this really should be done with other people, just talking through the list, because so often, and I'm saying this for myself as well, so often both these are going to apply to you. And it's really nuancing it and kind of processing through it after the fact, after you kind of talk through the two differences. So for 5s often want to be capable. 7s often prefer to be free. You talked about freedom a little bit. Does one of those hit you?
I want both of those things.
Yep.
I want to be free and capable. Yeah.
5s often minimize their needs, where 7s are going to maximize their options.
Yeah, definitely maximizing options.
5s often crave privacy. 7s often crave experiences.
Oh, you know what? That's a toss-up. I am a really private person in the sense that, like, I'm on Instagram. I haven't posted a picture in 7 years. I'm like, why? Why would I post that? My Facebook is literally just sharing, like, dog rescue posts. I don't like having people over to my house. I hate hosting. Yeah, it's kind of a weird thing. And I crave experiences in that I get really squirrely when I'm not having new experiences. Novelty, right? Like I like the novelty of new experiences. But the fact that I'm a bit risk averse also makes it so I'm not like the person who's going to be like, let's go on an adventure. But I do get antsy when that's missing from my life. Interestingly, I need to be like brought on an adventure.
Yeah. So you are not normally the one pulling people into new experiences. You are desirous, though, of other people pulling you into new experiences.
Yeah.
Does that feel like a restful place for you when you get pulled into new experiences, or is that something else?
I think it's one of those things where I lack I'm not a starter. So like I won't ever be the person to initiate the experience, but I'm also aware afterward that I'm really glad I did the thing. So it's almost like I'm thankful for someone making me do it, because otherwise I wouldn't have, but I know that I should have. It's like a kind of weird, yeah.
No, you should have. Do you find in your vocabulary that you tell people when they ask you about your feelings, you say, well, I think ...
Yeah. Yes. I've been doing transcription, right, for my counseling, because like we record ourselves counseling and then transcribe it so you can pick up on all your like idiosyncrasies. Yes. There's a lot of I think. Yeah.
Perfect. Again, unfortunately, I was going to say, oh, there it is. No, that's true of both those numbers. Never mind.
Yeah.
Well, we can rule some of the other numbers off.
Yeah.
Felissa. 5s often think before acting. 7s often act before feeling.
Oh, that is tough. I definitely think before I act. Definitely. There's not a lot I do that is not like heavily premeditated. But act before feeling. How would that be conceptualized? Like, I'm having a hard time thinking about what that would look like.
My emotions don't matter. I'm going to go do the thing.
That's a good question. I'm kind of stumped on that, actually.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I might circle back if necessary just to talk about your relationship with your emotional life, your relational life. 5s often limit exposure. 7s often expand their opportunities.
I expand opportunities.
5s often value control. 7s often value spontaneity.
I very much value both of those things.
Yeah, that's
Equally,
what I heard too.
I think. Yeah. Yeah.
5s often protect their boundaries. 7s often stretch limits.
I was going to say I stretch limits, but then I thought about the example of the cake at 7:30 p.m. and how I'm like, I don't want to do that. But I would do it, is the thing. I wouldn't keep the boundary. I would have it and say it, but I wouldn't keep it. I would, make of that what you will. I don't know.
I have a buddy who says, it's better than 1 scoop of ice cream?
What?
2 scoops of ice cream.
Well, yeah.
Do you resonate with that?
Yes.
All right, boom. 5s often find calm in solitude. 7s often find safety in the excitement.
I find I have a hard time. I do value solitude. I also get way too in my head when I'm alone too long, though. And I crave excitement without knowing that's what I'm craving. Like I get, like when...
Talk about this.
So my husband is in real estate, and if I know he has like properties listed and his phone rings, I'm like, ooh, like I get like an adrenaline surge because I'm like, maybe it's a person, maybe it's someone calling to buy the house, maybe they want to buy the house, maybe they want to see the house, maybe it's so like I love like those little zings of like adrenaline almost.
Yeah.
I'm not, like I said, I'm not a person going on a roller coaster, absolutely not, but I do get a little more excited, I think, than other people. Like my husband's a good example because I'm pretty sure a nine with a very strong 1 wing. Or he's a 1 with a 9 wing. I'm not quite sure. And we're so completely different that way. I'm like, who was that? What did they want? Did they want? And it was just so-and-so. He's not, when the phone rings and he doesn't recognize the number, it's not, maybe it's someone who wants to buy the house. It's a telemarketer. I'm not like, what am I? Right? So.
Also protective of his energy.
Yeah.
Some of, right?
Yeah.
That's good. That's an excellent answer, and I think that displays a lot. 5s often repress their emotions. 7s can reframe their emotion. Do you see the difference there?
Yeah. I don't think I repress emotion. I'm someone who, like most people would describe as very emotive. I have a lot of feels. I think 7 for that one.
I'm going to come back to a lot of feels because that was, again, the emotional side of this ends up being interesting. 5s often fear being engulfed. 7s often fear being trapped.
Trapped, for sure.
5s often analyze deeply. 7s can sample broadly.
Interesting. It's kind of like that, what is it, inch deep, mile wide kind of thing? Like which...
But again, since you're on the line...
Yeah.
It may depend. Perhaps it would be the case. Do you find that deep analysis comes when you're secure? More easily when you're secure?
Yeah. Yeah. But like sample broadly, I'm trying to think of like what that would look like. Like to know a little about a lot of things? Is that kind of...
It's
I mean, I will say this.
Connoisseur.
Yeah, I will say, like, you want me on your trivia team, for sure.
Tell me why.
If I'm watching a movie and I'm like, oh, I didn't know that was in that city, I'm on the Wikipedia page for that city, and I'm like, did you know that blah blah? Like, I'm that person who like,
Yeah.
I need to know the random fact.
Yeah. Perfect. I'm gonna pause on that and just say I think there's a good reason for you to consider 7. I think that it would make a ton of sense if you've done a lot of work on psychology and counseling, that you will have done some of the real work on yourself, and some of those doors to 5ness just are going to open up. When I said that I thought 1 was on the list, it came out in talking about your culture's response to your kids and the judgment that's there. And that would make a ton of sense if in 7 space you're in social settings where you might be feeling social pressure. And so that would be a stressful situation, and that would be why the 1's coming out.
Yeah.
I heard almost 0, 8 in your language. And so that would be another thing. You would either have to be a severely stressed out 5, just kind of living in this 7 space, which you don't strike me as that person, or you're a fairly grounded, secure 7 who really can move into that withdrawn space that has some of those 5 tools. And that strikes me as way more likely. So I think that you would be verbalizing a lot more of your fears if you were a 6. And I think that you would not feel uncomfortable with melancholy if you were a 4.
Yeah, totally.
And so that's pretty much what I see. I think when you said it earlier, that you were kind of looking at the self-preservation side. And I'm trying to think if that is not the countertype to 7s, but I think it might be the middle one. So that would be a balancing place. Self-preservation 7 would be a fantastic kind of balancing, because there's so much energy in 7s that can become kind of reckless. And so to have kind of that self-preservation gear just balances out that. And so that's a good combination, as it were. But it's just like everything Enneagram, and this is for you and it's for listeners. I can't type you, only you can type you. And so but what I would love to do is just give you full permission to say, try these glasses on and assume that this is you. And if the tool doesn't work, I would start looking at 5 a little bit more strongly. But if the tool works, if some of the stuff, especially when you get into some of the shadow work side of 7s, or naming some of your high side, the challenges that might come for 7, that's really where a lot of the, like, you'll feel the tool. So if it's the case, for example, that you find yourself daydreaming, scheming, romanticizing in ways that may be counterproductive or even unhealthy, that would be the sort of thing that the Enneagram might expose a little bit. If you struggle on the gluttonous side of overconsumption, and that can take on all kinds of different faces, but being able to name that can be very important. But then also knowing that the high side of 7 is really this joy and wisdom that you're going to bring to the rest of us, you're going to bring to your family, and knowing that about yourself can be valuable. So that's where my mind goes. Do you have thoughts or questions?
No, I think I find myself wishing that there was so part of my journey has been, whenever I'm into something, the first thing I do is look for a podcast about it. Like, I'm like, and as you know, I'm sure there's like a podcast for 6s. There's a podcast for 5s. And I'm like, where's the podcast for, I think there's one for 9s too. I'm like, where's the podcast for 7s? Because being immersed in that, I listened to the podcast for 5s, I mean, nonstop for like a month last year. And that was really helpful, like, to feel like you're in a conversation with other 5s kind of, and see like, you know, how their brain works in that. And I find myself, maybe this is my like origin story of the Enneagram 7 podcast. You heard it here first. It's like,
you're already a counselor. You can jump on.
Yeah, exactly.
I can connect you with people.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what. So, and this partially for you, but it's for everyone else. So twofold. One, we have a second podcast called Start Here. And Start Here is a typing podcast, but there is an episode called Basics for Sevens. And then there's another episode in which we talked with Joel Stabile, who is Suzanne Stabile's son, and he's a 7. He's the most informed 7 I've ever met. And I think he actually is more self-preserving in orientation as well, and well worth listening to because he really does a great job of elevating some of the themes of 7ness that the rest of us just don't see. So I will be happy to share those with you personally, but then I'll also put them in the show notes when this posts. Another great interview that we did this year was with Jackie Brewster, who's a enneagram coach, and she had a lot of good things to say about her experience of anxiety in particular, which I found really helpful. And just hearing her language might click for you on some of those fronts. I'm trying to think if we interviewed any other 7s. But those are, at least in terms of our work, those are some places to start. And I suppose it's the case. Joel is talking all the time on Suzanne Stabile's podcast, so perhaps it's not the same. But any episodes, I suppose, that they do with 7s, Joel routinely jumps up and starts talking and sharing, and you might get that 7-7 banner.
I go down that rabbit hole now when I see 7. I'm like, I think there was an episode this week on, is it like What It's Like to Be You or something? That podcast. They have an episode with a 7 this week, and I find like it's funny. I listen. There's some episodes with 7s where I'm like, yeah, absolutely, 100%, that's me, and then there's some where I'm like, who is this? Like, I don't. So I wonder if it probably speaks to my instincts, right? And like where this person is versus where I am. But it is so fascinating. And one of the things that's been so eye-opening for me in the Enneagram is the incredible breadth that can exist within a number, right? Which is so fascinating. And I think I've listened to all the episodes that you named. I'm going to go back and listen to them because I listen to so many things that I forget a lot of what I... And earlier I mentioned walking in the woods and listening to podcasts, but actually daydreaming about something else. And that does often happen. So I'm going to go back and listen again for sure.
I suppose another one, I hadn't thought about this, but the episode that began this series was with Lindsay Davis.
Yes, I did listen to that. Yeah.
Just comparatively, your energy is really similar to hers. And so she also has a podcast. I know that she had a mistyping story, not just on ours, but she shared it on her own podcast, and that might have some extra zing to it for you.
Yeah, she has an interesting story on her podcast about her mistyping story, about how it was actually pointed out to her by her, which is funny. I thought that was interesting. That unfolded. It was quite interesting, yeah.
But I think you're right to, like, I can see why you may not relate to a lot of other 7s who have just a lot of forward energy, and saying that's just not me, and that makes a lot of sense as we're talking. But it's, as I'm sure you know, like Enneagram's trying to name motive, and behavior kind of clouds that sometimes. So.
Yeah, totally.
Bang. Well, so it sounds like you've done some research. Do you have any thoughts or questions on 7ness? Things that like you would love clarification on, just while I got you?
Good question. I don't think so, actually. Like, I have your book. I've been reading it. I've got all kinds of books I've been reading. So I think I'm good. Like, I'm listening to the podcast you guys have done and others have done with 7s. That, like you said, has been really cool for sort of like putting it all in context. So, yeah.
Boom. Excellent. Yeah. Excellent. Well, Danielle, it was fantastic meeting you. I hope you stay in touch. We do quite a bit of things, this is for you and for others, but we do quite a bit of things on aroundthecircle.org, and we're going to have a lot more face-to-face workshop kind of times. So if that interests you, very easy to duck out of, and you are invited. And so, and should be. A lot of the 7s that connect with us online are actually really well informed. So that might be another place to talk to 7s personally. So when we get those moving. But that's what I got. You got anything else?
No, I'm good.
It was delightful meeting you. So
you too.
I'm cheering for you, cheering for your family, and cheering for your counseling work. So
thank you so much.
All right, I'm going to sign off.